my very first memory, like one of my earliest, most vivid memories, I had to walk back and forth from school, and I remember getting jumped by one of my sister's friends. And I'm the baby of the family. I have 2 older sisters, and one of her older friends jumped me from behind. And one of my earliest memories was hitting a kid in the face with a metal Charlie Brown lunchbox. And my story kind of grows from there. So I always had kind of I won't say I was angry. I'll say that I was intense. I'm sure you guys have watched some of the videos. I'm almost 40 years old and I have this kind of energy. I was a tough to handle child. And that was before the time of like ADD drugs or anything like that. Like it was literally, my mom would send me on a job site with my dad because he was a construction worker, and my dad would make me dig holes to fill the holes back in, or give me a hammer and a handful of nails and ask me to put as many nails on a piece. Like it was trying to get energy out of me, right? We did not grow up in a very, very good place. We did not have much money, and both my parents worked a lot. And so the 3 of us kids were left home very often, home alone very often. And one of my next earliest memories is our neighbor who beat his wife all the time. And I was too young. I was like 5'4", 5'6", I don't know. I was young. All I know that he wasn't cool. He tried to steal an axe out of the back of my dad's truck that kills. It was bad, right? It was a bad place. My parents didn't have money to get us out of the situation. It was bad. And the next memory, vivid memory that I have is him trying to break through the back door of our house to come get my sisters and I, who are alone, and we need to run out the back of the house and get the police and everything. I decided then that I was not a victim, right? That I was not a victim in the way normal things would not bother me the way normal things would bother other people. I decided at a very young age, that I was going to become strong. Now, I grew up in the 80s, so there was like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and He-Man, and everyone with muscles. So to me, I needed muscles, right? That led me into weightlifting, and as early as possible, it led me into fighting. And I got into karate, but not the karate like you guys think karate, like point sparring, like playing tag. Literally I was in karate for about 2 weeks, and our karate instructor, we did basically kickboxing. Like we still did katas and that kind of stuff, but we beat each other unmercifully. And I'm probably like 12, 13 years old and fighting like 16, 17-year-olds. So it's like, it's little young men fighting, and there's nothing but Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat out, so fighting was the thing to do. One of my earliest memories, I was like 2 weeks into fighting, and if you guys see my teeth, that chip there was like 2 weeks into fighting because I fought some kid, he kicked me in the head, I had a flash knockout, literally had to spit that bit of teeth out of my mouth, and thought it was disrespectful to say anything about my teeth, so I just had to do the kneel down, bow, and all the normal stuff. So it was like a different type of fighting school, and it brought a different type of mindset into my mind. Not only were there awesome like karate movies at that time, like about Shaolin stuff and Jean-Claude Van Damme doing splits over stuff, and all about mindset. Like if your mindset was strong enough, your body could literally do anything. Like you could shoot fireballs at that time, right? It was believable. There wasn't internet. You believed it. So literally, I started building a mindset that now people look at as freakish or unbelievable, but literally that's how all my friends from that time were, because we grew up at a different time, and when we were fighting, that kind of led, like my kickboxing days kind of led more into jiu-jitsu. From jiu-jitsu, it kind of led into MMA, and that was going really, really well. I actually ended up owning a karate school during my years in college. That was my college years. I didn't spend a lot of time lifting because it was all spent time either doing MMA stuff, owning the karate school, or pretty much failing college. So right after college, I got degrees in stuff that I really wasn't interested in, but I was interested in still building my body. Fighting was the biggest part of my life, so all of my training was pointed towards that. It wasn't like towards bodybuilding or even powerlifting or anything. It was about performance. So my training looked a little bit different than many people's at that time. But jiu-jitsu and MMA were a massive part of my life while I was doing now personal training. So that's where a lot of my coaching background and everything came in. Not so much from certifications, but from websites like elitefts and T Nation, and really those were the big pillars of good information at the time. And so really just reading things, that's where almost all of my background comes from, is from reputable sources and great coaches and working with people, and of course, making a lot of mistakes. So during this time, everything was going really, really well with my lifting, but I didn't really have a purpose. And then a strange thing happened in my life, and suddenly I got wrapped into the world of counterterrorism. And for the next 10 years of my life, I kind of did a lot of travel and was overseas a lot, and was just involved in a lot of those types of things, and really was not home. Lifted a lot, but it all changed. Definitely was involved in fighting and actually became an instructor. And then I was experiencing a decent amount of health problems. So after a multitude of tests, I got a call from a doctor who told me that I had a brain tumor. So it wasn't like a you're gonna die brain tumor, but it was definitely a you should stop getting hit in the head brain tumor. So I could no longer do the MMA, but still jiu-jitsu and of course lifting was a big part of my life. And that lasted for the rest of my counterterrorism career. After that, I decided to get involved in strongman because of the death of a friend and opened a gym. And strongman has led me so many beautiful places in my life. I am here because of strongman. I've met the coolest people that I never should have met, or I'm in situations that I should never be in because of this sport, and it's been amazing. However, jiu-jitsu has always been part of my life, and the lifting has always been part of my life. And really the mindset stuff that I learned as a small child was such a big determining factor in who I was going to become, because it was always about challenging myself and just becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. When I was a kid, it was about like taking the harder path through walking through woods, or like just doing dumb things. Like it was always about finishing every single set, making the small decisions when no one was looking. It was about, if you had 20 squats to do 10 sets of it, you did all reps of all sets. Like it wasn't questionable. It wasn't because someone was watching, it was just because you knew. And that bled over into so many different areas of my life. If it were not for fighting and if it were not for lifting, I literally would not be the man that I was. And thank God, because the strongman career was going really well and I was moving my way up the ranks, and I was very, very happy with it. I was having a blast with it. And then one day I just started getting sick. And that sickness led to throwing up, and that throwing up led to literally throwing up 30 to 50 times a day, every single day, which of course led to a lot of other problems. I've had 5 surgeries. It's happened for 2 years in a row. About 3 months ago, I got my first opportunity to start getting treatment. So now I am actually free of that disease, dealing with its effects for probably the next 15 to 20 years. But I literally could not have made it without the morals and the principles I've learned through fighting, through lifting, through just choosing the right thing every single time, to just not skip out on sets, not skip out on reps, not skip out on anything, learning how to focus on being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and just being able to look at the next step, the next rep, getting through the next second, the next day, the next hour, whatever you need to get through. That's the only way you get through anything. You can't look at anything on the whole. If you think about throwing up 50 times a day, every single day, trust me, you'll eat a bullet. I almost did. You literally need to look at it as one day at a time, 1 second at a time, 1 minute at a time, and that can't happen if you didn't build it 1 rep at a time, 1 set at a time, 1 fight at a time, 1 decision at a time. It bleeds over into other areas of your life. And if you're not learning that from lifting, then you're wasting a lot of your time. This is not about building bigger biceps. It's not about your deadlift PR, your squat, time wins. You're going to lose, all right? All those things go away. It's not going to matter. What's going to matter is what you are deciding in your head. These small decisions become big decisions. And when you get that call 2 a.m. in the morning and your life crashes, how you deal with that is exactly how you dealt with your set of 20 reps. If you stop at 15, you're not going to handle it. Trust me, it bleeds over. Make good decisions.